On this edition of Southern Newsweek, a promising police puppy has arrived in Dunedin and is loving life. Beef and Lamb New Zealand held its annual Farm Smart conference in Christchurch recently. And hundreds of pupils from across South Canterbury take part in the annual Sport Canterbury Jam Extravaganza. Kia ora, good evening, I'm Melissa Barton. A promising police puppy has arrived in Dunedin and is loving life. Judge, a jet black German Shepherd, came to the city about 6 weeks ago, fresh from the breeding program at the Police Dog Training Centre in Trentham.
Meet Judge, the latest addition to Dunedin's canine police force. He's now living with local dog handler Constable Regan Wilson, who says the 13-week-old pup is already showing potential.
He's going good. There's a few scratches on my hands that show he knows what he's doing already, so hopefully that continues.
But there's a long way to go for the energetic German Shepherd before he hits the beat.
It sounds promising, but long way to go. So there's 3 courses that we have to complete before he gets that far, and then hopefully onto an armed defender's dog with this one too. So that's a separate course as well.
For now, Judge is settling into life in Dunedin and lives at home with Wilson and his operational police dog, South. They've been partners since graduating from the New Zealand Police Dog Training Centre in August last year.
He's just alongside him at the moment, and then when Judge gets operational, he'll probably take over.
Judge appears to be in good hands. Wilson and his current dog, South, have already racked up an impressive list of achievements as part of the Dunedin Dog section, led by Sergeant Mike Calvert. But for young Judge, he'll have to wait about another year and a half before getting in on the action. In Dunedin, the South today.
Beef and Lamb New Zealand's annual Farm Smart conference was held in Christchurch recently. And while they're committed to supporting farmers to improve their environmental performance, they're cautious about the government's zero carbon amendment bill.
Dairy farming, a big earner for the country, but also the biggest carbon emitter as well. In fact, new figures by Stats NZ show dairy cattle farming is the only agriculture industry to record an increase in emissions over the last decade. That was certainly one of the big talking points at this year's Beef and Lamb New Zealand Farm Smart conference in Christchurch. The theme this year, Push Play, how data is transforming our world, with discussions tackling the zero carbon bill, the emissions trading scheme and climate change.
We really wanted to be involved in the conversation with government and the regulators. We didn't want to be not at the table, and as it's worked out, we are better to be at the table. The same with the environment and the like. You're better to be at the table and part of the discussion rather than throwing stones from the outside.
Smith says while farmers recognise they need to make changes, it's important to ensure new legislation sets achievable targets.
The government are very engaging, but are they listening? So nothing's actually come into legislation yet, either in the environment scene or the climate scene, but it will remain to be seen.
Also on the menu, the threat of alternative proteins like Beyond Meat and the Impossible Burger, something Smith has had the pleasure of tasting.
It was the only thing on the menu, unfortunately, and when I did try it, I was, I wasn't that pleased with it, to be honest, but that's a real good thing because it was very dry. It was like sawdust, and I was asked when I finished it, what did you think of that? And I said, well, I won't be rushing back for another one.
Submissions for the Zero Carbon Amendment Bill close in just over 2 weeks. No doubt a good chunk of those submissions will come from the people in this room. In Christchurch, the South today.
People in Dunedin were treated to the sight of a tug motoring up and down Otago harbour recently, while flight paramedics were winched down, then hauled back up. It was all part of regular training Otago Regional Rescue helicopter crew members perform throughout the year.
Being winched onto a moving boat in Otago harbour. A rescue helicopter flight paramedic is lowered onto the Port Otago tug, a Heri, as part of a regular training exercise. Heli Otago Operations Manager Kevin Gale says the training usually involves multiple winching attempts.
They're just coming up and down the harbour, and we just come around and formate on them, and we're just practising putting our medics onto a ship, if you like.
He says helicopter winching is an exercise they practice regularly in different environments.
It's something we've got to do every 90 days. We do winch currency, and we do an annual check, a competency check every 12 months, and we do other stuff in between.
Gail says a lot of the winching they do is for people stuck in bush or on a cliff face. And when winching a person onto a boat, good communication is essential.
It's really important when we're over the boat that the pat is going. You know, you've got the chat coming out of the winchman to the pilot, because the pilot essentially can't see where we're winching to. So you're basically painting a picture by telling them. This
week's winching exercise ended prematurely when the rescue helicopter was deployed to an emergency call-out in central Otago. In Dunedin, for the South Today.
Hundreds of pupils from across South Canterbury have taken part in the annual Sport Canterbury Jam Extravaganza. Timaru's Theatre Royal was filled with music and applause as children in years 1 to 8 took part in the dance-based high-energy event.
It was all thriller, no filler. At Theatre Royal in Timaru this week, as teams from across South Canterbury danced for glory in the annual South Canterbury Jump Jam.
Absolutely. Sport Canterbury's really excited to present this year's Jump Jam Extravaganza. It's the 11th year we've put this show together, and the primary schools from South Canterbury put a lot of energy and effort and time into putting their teams together.
The primary schools competition began more than a decade ago. The Grantley Downs Amigos among the Year 4 to 6 teams giving it their all in the event. Sport Canterbury's Leanne Lang says nearly 60 teams took part.
Really excited to have almost 700 participants go through the Theatre Royal today, from years 1 to years 8. 58 teams, amazing.
There are 5 sections, from years 1 to 4 teams to years 7 to 8 teams, along with open and novice sections. Waimate Apocalypse from Waimate High School are in the year 7 to 8 section, and proving that a song written by a man who's been dead for 10 years is still great to dance to. In South Canterbury, the South Today.
Still to come on this edition of Southern Newsweek. An injured arborist has a lucky escape, and senior politicians pay a visit to Dunedin schools. So we'll see you after the break. Welcome back. An injured arborist was able to get himself down a tree on a Dunedin golf course recently after suffering a blow to the head. The man suffered the injury when up a tree near the first green at the Chisholm Links golf course.
Being treated by ambulance staff before being taken to hospital. This arborist lucky to receive only moderate injuries after an accident high up a tree at Dunedin's Chisholm Links golf course earlier today.
Arborist was still in the tree, he was conscious, but injured. He'd been hit in the face.
Firefighters were preparing to rescue the man from up the tree, but in the end he was able to get down on his own.
We were getting ready to rig up our line rescue gear. We had a specialist team on their way as well. The patient ended up descending himself.
Emergency crews were able to take over once the injured man was safely to the ground.
So we just sort of assisted him where we could, and then handed him to the ambulance.
A St John spokesman says the man was taken to Dunedin Hospital with moderate injuries. In Dunedin, for the South Today.
Politicians have visited McAndrew Bay and Bathgate Park schools as part of an outreach program. The Speaker of the House, ACT leader David Seymour, and representatives from Labour and National were quizzed by inquiring young minds.
Mr. Speaker?
It could be said New Zealand Parliament's Speaker of the House, Trevor Mallard, has a similar job to teachers, maintaining order in a robust environment. To those who just see question time, Parliament can seem like preschool, which is one of the reasons why he's taking members around the country.
Well, I think part of demystifying it is getting a cross-party group of members out, people here from Labour, National and ACT, and I think that's good. I think there will be some focus during the time that we're here on arguing, because there are some issues which the school kids who are here want to debate and have a decent discussion about.
ACT leader David Seymour is one MP who's not afraid of taking a stand on an issue he believes in, but says teaming up like this is a nicer side of the job.
Oh, it's fantastic. We've got very young people. We've been to 2 primary schools,
very old people. We've been with grey power, and it's one of the warmer parts of our politics is when politicians from different parties come together and try to advance the greater good of our country and the esteem of our parliament, which hopefully we're doing.
David Seymour wasn't able to stick around at the Bathgate Park event and was barely off his laptop, as it was the day after his voluntary euthanasia bill passed its second reading.
Getting a margin of 70 to 50 at the second reading shows that we've got the numbers to go all the way and give those New Zealanders suffering at the end of their life the choice that they would like to have.
While Parliament is known for debate, Trevor Mallard says sometimes politicians work together for the greater good.
Often major legislation goes through Parliament with everyone in agreement. Yesterday we had 4 bills that went through in 3 hours. One of them went through 119 to 1 and the others all went through unanimously.
Students taking part enjoyed the process and, while learning how it works, also thought politicians could learn from their school how to treat each other better.
It's actually pretty cool to be able to order people around, but that's obviously not what our Prime Minister does.
People are very noisy and like yelling at each other, and they don't raise their hand, they just stand up.
The parliamentarians yell at each other a lot and they're disrespectful to each other.
It's like there's a lot of yelling, and it's a place where you can argue a lot.
While in the South, politicians were asked largely environmental-centred questions, but also about overpopulation and what Parliament smelled like. In Dunedin, the South Today.
Over 1,000 birds were on display for judging in Christchurch at the annual Christchurch Poultry, Pigeon and Bantam Club show. The event's been running since 1867 and each year sees smaller clubs using the event for their own annual show.
She's got a nice eye colour, doesn't block the vision.
Discussing the merits of just a few of the 1,000 entries at this weekend's annual Christchurch Poultry Show. Judges explaining to the audience what they're looking for in a bird. John Taylor says they explain the process as they go so that owners can learn more about breeding.
It's actually really good. It's a good learning experience for a lot of them too, because they, you put a bird in the show and then you go home and come back the next day or whatever, and you never learn anything. But putting them in here, open style judging, you can, we're here with our microphones talking about everything.
The competition's been running for over 150 years. This year's prize for Best in the Show went to a black Pekin Bantam pullet. Winning chook breeder Brian Dunlop and his showing partner have a long history with the event.
I show it with my partner Alan Gray, who's 91, and he has a really strong interest in the birds. He's shown for many years as well, and his dad used to back in the 30s and 40s. I did as well back in the 70s and 80s, and we've been back showing about 6 years.
And it's not the first time his bird has won first prize.
She's a very good shape. She's got a lovely head on it. She's got a really nice tight wing, which you're looking for. She's got great foot feather, good cushioning in the tail. She's got nice. They should be round at every angle, round from the front, round from the back, round from the side. And yeah, she's just a really lovely bird. And you were really chuffed. She's been to 4 shows and won the major thing 3 times. So, and was runner-up to her sister on other occasions. So she's had a very good season.
The Araucana lays eggs with distinctive light blue and green coloured shells. This year saw the Araucana Club join the weekend's event, and next year will see the addition of the Pekin Club's annual show to the lineup, ensuring there'll be plenty more to crow about. In Christchurch, for the South Today.
Fresh from 2 years travelling in the Netherlands, Dunedin-based art collective Ekare is returning to its home city. It's collaborating with Otago Polytechnic to bring an innovative new show.
Showing off a small sample of what's on offer at a new exhibition by Dunedin-based art collective Ekare.
The exhibition is called Hopua Whakaata, when a rough translation is kind of like a reflecting pool. It's an exhibition of Tauira Māori at the Polytech, so Māori students at the Polytech. Their wonderful art, which we're going to display to celebrate the Matariki, Puaka Matariki, which is the Māori New Year.
From copper wire sculptures to videos, photographs and paintings, a wide range of art from Māori students will be on offer.
So there's lots of different kinds of art, and it's all about celebrating the success of Māori students in the arts.
18 students from the Polytechnic's Dunedin School of Art have submitted work for the show. Organisers hope it'll pave the way for more exhibitions with the Polytechnic in the future.
We're really stoked that Polytech is keen to do it with us, and that we can show it here in the hub, which is like a beautiful space to show work in.
Fresh from a trip to the Netherlands, Ikare now want to work with people who don't have access to art galleries and to bring the art to the people.
And yeah, I'm just really excited about it, to be honest, because it's like all of the work is so different and amazing and beautiful, and it's really cool to be able to show like a diversity of Māori art, from more traditional stuff right through to quite contemporary things. Is really great.
The exhibition opens on Thursday night. Entry is free with pieces available to buy. In Dunedin, the South today.
Still to come on this edition of Southern Newsweek. A worker is hospitalised following a chemical spill in South Dunedin. And straight out of Antarctica, a rare seal makes a debut visit to Dunedin, so stay with us. Thanks for staying with us. Fire crews cleaned up a chemical spill in South Dunedin which resulted in one person being taken to hospital. The chemical is a concentrated and highly corrosive acid, which an employee inhaled. Emergency services evacuated and ventilated the PBT building in Strathallan Street.
Getting rid of toxic chemicals at PBT Transport Depot in Strathallan Street this morning after a spill of a concentrated and highly corrosive acid. Two firefighters wearing level 4 hazmat suits, seen here emptying a bucket of nitric acid into a large yellow container outside the warehouse.
Because there were multiple chemicals in that area, we always go to the highest level of protection, so that's why it gets a hazmat response here.
One person was taken to Dunedin Hospital in a moderate condition as a result of inhaling the fumes. The person's understood to be a manager at PBT Transport and will recover quickly and without lasting damage. Workers were earlier evacuated from the depot and the busy South Dunedin street was closed in a major response from emergency services.
The building's evacuated, the office and all the workshop, and it's mostly storage units around it, so it's all been evacuated.
Firefighters used absorbing agents to clean up the spill after a box containing the acid was breached.
No, I'm not sure what the mechanism was. A worker found that a container had been split.
Otago University chemistry professor Lyle Hanton was called in to help firefighters after almost 3 litres of the chemical was spilled. In Dunedin, the South today.
A vagrant seal many miles from home was spotted on a beach near Dunedin recently in its species' first visit to Otago shores. Crab-eater seals are usually found on pack ice around the Antarctic, but a 2-metre-long female in apparently good health was found resting on a beach near Dunedin.
Taking a well-earned rest, this crab-eater seal relaxing on a Dunedin beach yesterday, the first visit to Otago shores from the species in recorded history.
So there has been one study done in New Zealand which recorded 8 different sightings of crab-eaters in New Zealand. But other than that, we don't have too many records.
Forbes says she knew as soon as she saw the seal's distinctive snout it was a crab-eater and not a leopard seal, which is a head shaped more like a rugby ball.
You can tell because of that pointy snout on its face. We came here thinking it could be a leopard seal because they look really similar with the spots, but the head shape is very different, so that's how we know.
Crab-eater seals mainly live around Antarctica. The species name is something of a misnomer though, as they don't actually eat crabs.
They're called crab-eater seals, but they're actually very specialised in hunting krill. They can actually sieve krill through their teeth.
She believes the seal near Dunedin is almost fully grown and appears to be in good condition. It does have some scars on its back and a few scratches and puncture wounds, which could be signs of a recent scrape with a leopard seal. But Forbes is unsure why it's turned up in the south.
These true seals, leopard seals and crab-eaters, they're coming to land just to rest. They spend most of their life in the water hunting, and they come here literally just to sleep. So it's really important they get that sleep, and the best way to not disturb them is staying 20 metres away.
Anyone who sees a leopard or crab-eater seal is urged to report them to 0800 Leopard in Dunedin, the South today.
Lake Hayes finally has a water monitoring buoy 5 years after the lake's protectors first asked for one. Otago Regional Council and Otago University scientists helped launch the $70,000 solar-powered buoy recently.
From a permanent mooring in the middle of Lake Hayes near Queenstown, a suite of sensors on this buoy will take readings of water quality and meteorological data every 15 minutes. Friends of Lake Hayes Society founding chairman Kerry Dunlop says it's been a long time coming.
It's great to see it here today because it will be 8 or 9 years ago that we first made a request to the annual plan for the Otago Regional Council.
The buoy's been made possible thanks to Otago University and Regional Council scientists.
The purpose of it is that it takes water quality measurements continuously. So it profiles the lake from the top to the bottom continuously every 15 minutes, which is a vast improvement of us going out once a month and doing the profile.
The lake's shown symptoms of its high nutrient levels for more than a decade, the result of at least 70 years of aerial top dressing of fertiliser in the catchment by farmers. The resulting algal blooms during warmer months has affected the lake's ecological and recreational values.
In the Upper Clutha area, we used to have very few water quality monitoring sites because we assumed that water quality was excellent. We now recognise that the water quality is excellent, but we want to keep track on it, particularly in the catchments of the 3 big lakes.
And after a period of testing, the data will be made publicly available on the Regional Council's website and shared with a global network of monitoring buoys on about 200 lakes throughout the world. In Queenstown, the South Today.
Otago Boys High School First 15 has won its annual inter-school clash with its Christchurch counterpart. The match was hard fought, with the visitors pushing the home side to the limit.
A job well done in the end. Otago Boys High School First 15 relieved to emerge victorious in the annual inter-school clash with Christchurch Boys High School. It was the visitors to Littlebourne who had the better of the first half, scoring 3 tries to 1 to lead 22-13 at the break.
In the first half, in the middle part of the first half, they really gave it to us and we sort of lost our composure. And no, I'm definitely proud of the boys, the way they came back, especially when they score like that and get a team like that, so definitely proud.
They needed to dig deep, the visitors scoring first in the second half as well to lead by 14 points. But the home side managed to address its defensive shortcomings and stormed back into contention. 2 tries in quick succession saw Otago Boys take the lead on the back of some forward dominance.
Just our forwards with their maul, I mean, they definitely got us that front forward ball, especially when we just come around the corner and attack, and yeah, just big ups to them because then the backs could do what they've done today, so yeah.
Sporting fresh pairs of anti-bullying pink socks, Otago Boys High School sealing the win late in the piece.
It was full credit to our defence in the second half. Like when we needed to turn up, the boys really turned up on defence and just their intensity. And I think today we nailed a lot, and I think it was definitely a mental game because the teams are pretty even, and the way we played and stuff like that was pretty good.
The final score 37-27 to cap off a 5-3 win for Otago Boys in the inter-school fixture in Dunedin, the South Today.
And that wraps up this edition of Southern Newsweek. For the latest news from the Southern region, subscribe to odt.co.nz and follow Channel 39 on YouTube and Facebook. Have a lovely evening. Ka kite anō.
Supporting local content so you can see more of New Zealand on air.